Hi guys, Sam Matt here at DreamHack Summer 2014 for a Day One recap. I'm joined here by Zunzu, who's going to run through Hearthstone and also discuss Dota 2 with me. Now, looking at Dota 2, Day One, we already have two teams who have been knocked out, Evil Geniuses and Fnatic. I mean, it seems like the format here has been super harsh, especially towards teams like Evil Geniuses who have had to travel, across the world to get here. I mean, what's your opinion been on the format so far?
Yeah, I think it's been, well, so the BO1s at the start, it sort of set the tone for the bracket, and the fact that Alliance was able to win that first BO1, sending EG to the lower bracket, the fact that they had to play that way through, I think they just got really tired, and they were, I was talking to them before the first game, and they were really afraid of that idea that they'd have to play the whole day through because they were really tired coming into this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Arteezy didn't actually get here until even maybe after us, which is very last minute. And obviously traveling across from America, jet lag is a huge factor there. And the reason he was so delayed is because they actually had finals to take care of in America, where the rest of his team got here maybe a day or two before him. And Arteezy was looking, physically exhausted yesterday, and I think that played a huge factor. And I think some of the teams actually kind of focused on Arteezy just to take advantage of that factor.
Yeah, that's, you always see this sort of, when you identify a weakness, the sportsmanly thing might be to cut the guy some slack, but realistically this is a competition and they're going to hammer it home. I've seen the same thing when Fada was playing for Mouse Sports. He had his hand in the cast. The immediate reaction from the opposing teams was, yeah, he's the weak link now. We're going to force him to show us that he can still play. And if he can't, then they're out. And yeah.
Speaking of Fata, Mouse Sports here probably had one of the longest days out of all the teams here. They were knocked down into lower bracket by Fnatic and then had to come all the way back. But they made it. And they'll now be facing up against Cloud9 later today, and also Alliance. They kind of performed. I think coming into the tournament, nobody really expected how Alliance was going to perform because those guys kind of took a step back and said, "No, we're not going to attend the summit. That's all the way across the world. We're going to sit at home in Gothenburg in our new house and boot camp and scrim, like a proper scrim." And it seems to have paid off. This Alliance. It's kind of very reminiscent of it's early days yet, but it's kind of reminiscent of the Alliance we saw at TI3. We saw Bulldog back on Furion and on Laundred. Were you pretty impressed with Alliance, Jester?
I know they weren't feeling that confident going into this event, but I think a big thing about Dota is just being confident, because when you are confident, you can do a lot of things that you can't do otherwise. And I think getting that win over EG and sort of following it up with a good win over Fnatic, I think they're looking a lot more like themselves. And there's a lot less questioning themselves in there to play. And I think that's going to serve them well, and I hope they keep it up.
Yep. So now moving into day two, we have the first showing of Cloud9 and Team Empire. I think Cloud9, it's pretty interesting. It seems to be they do have a coach now. We've seen Clairvoyance, he's here with them. And he was also there in WPCS in China. And it seems to be a new factor that teams are trying to bring on board. I mean, I think the finest example for me of a coach is probably Penny, aka 71 from Team DK. When you actually see behind the scenes what he does for the team, he plays a huge role in there, keeping the team together and just, the whole strategy and everything. And also, a quick chat with EG guys, they seem pretty happy with Fear's coaching. And apparently Fear will be heading over here to a boot camp with the rest of the team and in preparation for ESL 1. I mean, do you see this is one area where teams, especially a $10 million tournament coming up, and you want to do everything you can to get an advantage. Do you think coaches is going to become more and more common now?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of the fact that we need coaches. We need to better understand what a coach actually brings to this kind of competition, and we have this sort of a lot of us have probably played Little League and these kinds of youth sports, and you have this sort of conception of what a coach does in that system. But what a coach actually does on a pro team on this level, it's something entirely different. And we haven't. I think a lot of the players are still sort of trying to wrap their minds around what that is and what the benefits can be from having a coach. And the ones who are trying it out, I think they're seeing the results. I know I've talked a bit to Alliance about sort of their experience with Winter at VPCAs. They're gonna keep him on. I think that's sort of public knowledge that they've been trying to figure out how he can get his visa for the international while being in Sweden and so forth. So they are seeing positive results, but the results might not have always been what they first expected. And sort of the role of what the coach does for them is going to develop over the next month, and hopefully we'll see what it truly can mean for them at the international.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way it's going to pay off. And as we say, no, the prize pool's growing every day. Any advantage you can take, you got to take it. So now looking at the final team, we'll see today, Team Empire. I think they're potentially dark horse going to this tournament. I've heard a lot of teams saying they've been scrimming, and Team Empire have been a name I've been hearing a lot who have been coming out victorious there. I mean, scrims is one thing. Team Empire is still a pretty young team in terms of LAN experience, but I think it's they have a good shout here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the guys who are in Empire. Actually, back when Empire still had like the old core players, it was like Scandal, Blow Your Brain, and Light of Heaven had joined them, and they were sort of trying to figure out who their support players were going to be for that lineup. I actually talked to Anachronics, and I told him, Vanscore, this guy is amazing, get him. And I'm really happy to see him on that team. I'm really happy to see Resolution on that team. I was a huge early proponent of that guy. And I think they have a lot of youth, a lot of talent, and a lot of determination. And I think sort of at Starladder, they sort of realized that they've been playing very, very well certain strategies, but they hadn't really focused on expanding that pool of strategies. And their takeaway from that was that we need to do more. We need to have more options when people call us out on the stuff that we were already doing. And I think this is going to be the first showing of what that actually translates to in terms of their play.
Okay. That wraps up day one for us in Dota 2. And you've also been here helping us cover Hearthstone. So would you just like to break down the Hearthstone coverage for us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, day one in Hearthstone, it's been a lot of upsets. Savitz, he's been a bit of this guy who has he has so much promise, he has so much hype about him, he's known for being such a good player, but for some reason, in a tournament setting, he just has some of the worst luck possible. So him going out of the group of death, that was a hard hit. When Savitz went out, he actually said his favorite for the tournament that was left in there was actually Dark Vonix. And then Dark Vonix got dropped out of Group B. So we lost some great players. Who was the other guy who dropped out of Group B? Anyway, like the fact that we got Reels and RDU. Oh yeah, it was Tides of Time, the former Dota player Tides of Time. Plays for Team Tempo Storm. A great deck builder, great player, but he just didn't have that luck with him. You could see it in the games. He had some plays where he just like laid himself down on the desk and was like, "Oh God, I hope I don't get punished for what I just did." He had a hard time. Also, in terms of the BYOC, we had a lot of good names like Kit Kats, Lothar, Ostkaka, people like that who were expected to do well in the BYOC. They were all eliminated. And it sort of speaks to the fact that I've talked to some of the players who are seeded in the Group C and D who are going to play these BYOC players. The fact that they are unknown entities coming up against you, you don't know what kind of decks they're going to run, and you don't know what kind of small tweaks they're going to have in there. You can't quite predict their play style, and that is so important in terms of Hearthstone, because a lot of it is just that mind game of, okay, I know this guy, I know what deck he's going to run first. I'm going to pick a deck that gives me a good chance against that deck, and then if he wins that, I'll have a better counter coming up next, and stuff like that.
Have you been impressed with the booth here at DreamHack? It's been sponsored by Viagame, a new esports channel for Viasat, and it's pretty large. I mean, I'd say almost bigger than the CS:GO booth, which is, for me, was super surprising. And they have some, one-on-one cameras set up and a table in front of them. Is that kind of like the norm you would expect now for a Hearthstone tournament?
To some extent, yes, but there's also a lot of small hiccups. It's Viagame's first attempt, so they're gonna make some mistakes, but I think that they're learning. The fact that they've actually been running 2 games at the same time, which is good because sort of it prevents the teams from like watching each other's game, or the people in the same group from watching each other's games. Prevents them from getting knowledge about each other's decks. Although you can still use a teammate to sort of spectate the other games and write down the decks for you. But the fact that they don't have a screen for the second game, that's been a bit of a concern, because you don't actually get to see, for example, Reels, who won Group B. We saw very little of his games, so he's a bit of an enigma going into the playoffs. And otherwise, I think they've got a great lineup of talent. The crowd has been really enthusiastic. It's been full almost the whole time. And as you said, it is a bit funny that it is actually almost bigger than the CS:GO area. Before Hearthstone kicked off yesterday, NIP was playing a game, and the CS:GO people, the fandom in Sweden is so big. They took over the whole Hearthstone stage, just turned around the chairs, and it was like this mass of people. And you walked past them like, they need to get more prize money, bigger stages for CS:GO at DreamHack. This game is going places.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, with CS:GO, I actually saw people on the opposite side. They're actually standing on railings just to get a closer view at the players and the screen. I mean, it's very hard, like here at DreamHack. Obviously, there's so many games going on, and obviously you have, everyone bringing their computers, and it's a huge line at the end of the day. They've got to try and fit everything as they can do, and obviously there needs to be a balance with the sponsorships of each booth and everything like that. So it's kind of, I can see the point. Now, that pretty much wraps up day 1 for DreamHack Summer 2014. From ourselves here at On Gamers, we're going to be continuously doing coverage throughout the weekend, so stick with us, guys.